Like I already said in the departing video, everything that we do when we're docking is just taking the basics of sailing, everything else that we're doing out in the harbor, and we're just confining it to a small space. So that can be stressful because you don't have as much time to react. Everything that we're doing when we're docking is just the basics of sailing, finding your points of sail, sailing upwind, and doing it in a confined space. There are, a couple things like when you're actually sailing towards the dock, that can freak a lot of people out because you're sailing towards a big concrete floating dock. No one wants to hit it. And there's a couple things like that where we don't get to practice those. But as far as the actual sailing the boat, how are we maneuvering the boat, everything is the exact same. All right, so let's jump into it. Let's say we're coming back to dock. The very first thing that we need to do is figure out where the wind is coming from. So let's say we're out here in our sailboat. We're paying attention to our wind vane, the ripples on the water, what our sail is doing. So we know what the wind is doing out here, but what the wind is doing here can be different than what the wind is doing on shore. So there's an American flag here on shore, and we want to kind of, as you're sailing in, you want to keep an eye both on what your own boat is doing and also the flag, because those two things can be doing completely different things. But by looking at both of those, we get a very kind of well-rounded idea of what the wind is doing. So let's say we're getting ready to come in and we see that the wind is coming from the northeast. The very first question that we want to ask ourselves is, what direction are we going to dock the boat? Are we going to dock the boat with our bow facing towards shore, or are we going to dock the boat with our bow facing towards open water? We're always going to come to the dock and pull alongside the dock in either direction. We never want to just come up, just bow straight to the dock like this, because if you're coming in too fast, we don't really have very many options or much space to turn the boat without hitting something pretty hard. So think of it as we're always coming in, we're always going to turn the boat sideways on the dock in either direction. So the wind is coming from the northeast. What direction do you think we're going to dock the boat? Bow towards shore or bow towards open water? It's going to be bow towards shore. We always want to dock with our bow facing in whatever direction is closest to the no-sail zone. So we're not facing directly into the no-sail zone, but when we're alongside the dock like this, we're pointing closer to it than if we were docking with our bow towards open water. If you came in and docked the wrong way like that, if you tried to dock with your bow facing open water, the wind is coming from behind the boat. So it doesn't matter how much you let your sail out. The boat's not going to slow down. The sail is powered up, and you're going to hit that boat that's tied up on the dock. So it's really important. First question we ask ourselves is, are we going to dock with our bow facing towards shore or towards open water? So I'm going to do a few different directions, and I want you to kind of think about what direction we would dock the boat. All right, if the wind is coming from the southeast like this, it's coming from the southeast, are we docking with our bow towards shore or towards open water? We're going to dock with our bow towards open water because that's closer to the no-sail zone. Also, this is a good time to kind of point out, just because the other boats on the dock are tied up a certain way, that doesn't mean that you have to dock the same direction. We always want to dock in relation to where the wind is coming from, and the wind might change in the morning versus what it is in the afternoon. So each time you come in and dock, you kind of have to re-ask yourself that question. So wind is coming from the southeast, we're docking bow towards open water. What about if the wind is coming directly from the north? Directly from the north. Bow towards shore or towards open water? It's going to be bow towards shore. What about wind coming from the southwest? Wind is coming from the southwest. Shore or open water? Open water. All right, let's say the wind is coming from the east. Directly from the east. Shore or open water? This is going to be another instance where technically, if you watch the departing video, technically it doesn't matter. You could dock either way. But when the wind is coming from the east, it's probably trade winds, which means it's going to bounce between the east and the northeast. So if we're trying to be as safe as possible, and we know the wind is going to be bouncing back and forth like this because we have trade winds, then it would be safest to dock bow towards shore. So that's what we're going to want to do. Okay, so let's say the wind is coming from the northeast, and here's where we are. We're getting ready to come in and dock. First question we ask ourselves, are we docking bow towards shore or towards open water? We're going to dock bow towards shore. That's closer to the no sail zone. So we know that. First question is answered. Second question, is our destination, here's where we are, is our destination going to be inside or outside the no sail zone? It's going to be inside the no sail zone. Think about it. As you sail in, our destination, the parking spot, is directly inside the no sail zone. So if something is inside the no sail zone, what do we have to do? We have to sail upwind. We have to find our close hauled course. If I draw a really quick points of sail diagram, there's the wind, there's the no sail zone, and our points of sail: close hauled, beam reach, and a run. So our destination is inside the no sail zone. So what do we have to do? We have to sail upwind. We have to find our close hauled course. So here we are in the boat. We're sailing upwind, so our sails are in all the way, and we're sailing on our close hauled course. And you're going to sail until your destination is about at 90 degrees. You go past it just a little bit, and then we're going to tack the boat. And the boat tacks 90 degrees because we're tacking from one close hauled line to the other. This is one of those things where you want to get really good at tacking exactly 90 degrees out in the harbor so that you can do it comfortably in this area. If you can comfortably turn the boat 90 degrees through the no sail zone, you can get really, really precise about when you want to tack and when you don't. We never want to come into the dock with the mindset of, okay, here's hoping. That's the wrong mindset to have. We can be really precise when we sail, and we want to be. So we come in and we tack 90 degrees. We're aiming at our parking spot. Now what we don't want to do is aim at the middle of our parking spot. If we do that, what's going to happen is as you start to turn alongside the dock, you're going to run out of space and you're going to hit the boat in front of you. What we want to do instead is we want to aim at the downwind corner of our parking spot. Always. Doesn't matter where the wind is coming from, we always want to aim at the downwind corner of the parking spot. Which is which, do you think? 1 or 2? 1 or 2? It's going to be 2, because if you think about the wind is going to hit 1 first and then 2. So that's the downwind corner. So we've sailed upwind, we've tacked 90 degrees, and now we're aiming at the downwind corner of our parking spot. As we get closer, we let our sails out to slow the boat down, and we turn hard alongside the dock. Because what this is going to do is it's going to give us the full length of the parking spot to have our crew step off and slow the boat down. We're maximizing that space. Let's say we're in the same scenario. The wind is still coming from the northeast. We're sailing into our harbor. We're sailing close hauled. Our sails are in. And let's say this time, though, our parking spot is right here. Let's say we sail in and we tack. All right, it's obvious that we're not going to get to where we want to go. So what do? We just tack again, 90 degrees. 90 degrees, we tack again until we're at 90 degrees. We aim for our parking spot. We tack again. Which is the downwind corner, 1 or 2? It's going to be 2. So we aim for the parking spot. We let the sails out to slow the boat down, and we pull alongside the dock just like that. So a lot of times you're going to have to tack more than once, especially if your parking spot is closer to shore. There's not a specific point. It's not like right here, right there is where you want to let your sails out. Every single time, just like when you go sail, every single time you sail, the wind is going to be different. It's going to be stronger, it's going to be lighter, and you are going to have to let your sails out to slow the boat down based on what the wind is doing that day. So if the wind is really, really strong, you might be coming in pretty fast, which means you want to let the sails out earlier. If it's a really light wind day, you might be moving real slowly, and you might want to let the sails out kind of at the last second to keep the momentum in the boat. So whenever you're letting your sails out to slow the boat down, that's completely dependent on what the wind is doing on that day. We've talked kind of specifically about if the wind is coming from the northeast, this is what we have to do. But this is true if the wind is coming anywhere from the north. Northeast, north, northwest. If the wind is coming anywhere from the north, your destination is going to be inside the no sail zone, and you're going to have to sail upwind, tacking, in order to get to where you want to go. So obviously this course, I don't want you to think, okay, this is the exact course that I need to copy when I come into dock. Because the wind, like we've said before, the wind has a lot of variance in it. If the wind is kind of in between north and northeast, these angles, how you approach the dock, are going to be different. But the underlying principle is the exact same. Our destination is inside the no-sail zone, so you're just sailing upwind, your sails are sheeted in, and you're tacking until you get to where you want to go. Now let's say, here we are again, and the wind is coming from the south. The wind is coming from the south. Here's where we are. What point of sail are we on? We're probably going to be on a run. The wind is directly behind us. Our sails are all the way out. So is our destination inside or outside of the no-sail zone? Outside. It's outside the no-sail zone. Next question. Are we docking with our bow towards shore or towards open water? Towards open water, because that's where the wind is coming from. So I know that right now I'm on a run, so I'm sailing into the harbor like this. But eventually I know I'm going to have my boat facing towards open water. So something's going to have to happen in here. So let's kind of walk through that process. We're on a run. We're sailing into the harbor. All right about here, I'm going to turn towards the dock. What maneuver do you think is going to happen right here? If you think about where the sail is, think about the boat turning. We're going to jibe. The boat is going to turn towards our parking spot. The boat jibes. Our sails are out. What corner is the downwind corner? 1 or 2? It's going to be 1, because once again, the wind is coming from the south this time, so it's going to hit corner 2 first, then corner 1. So that's the downwind corner of our parking spot. So that's the one we're going to aim at. We let our sails out to slow the boat down, and then we turn hard alongside the dock, just like that. So we've already talked about if the wind's coming anywhere from the north, you're having to sail upwind, your destination's inside the no-sail zone. If the wind is coming anywhere from the south, doesn't matter where, south, southeast, southwest, you're basically going to come in and do a U-turn. You're basically doing a big horseshoe. You're coming in pretty close to a run, and you're probably jibing towards your parking spot. And like I said before, this isn't the exact, I don't want you to copy exactly what this looks like, because based on where the wind is coming from, there's going to be some variance in how you come in, but the principle is the same. So let's say this one right here is if the wind is coming directly from the south. All right, but let's say we're going to dock over here now, and the wind is coming from the southwest. So you're going to come in, same boat, we're coming in like this. We're going to get to right about here this time. We're going to turn the boat towards our parking spot. 1 or 2, which is the downwind corner. 1, that's the one we aim for. Let your sails out to slow the boat down. Turn the boat hard alongside the dock. So you can see the wind is coming from the south versus the southwest. That's what these two different docking attempts look like. But you're doing the exact same thing. You're coming in, you're doing a big horseshoe. You're doing a big U-turn. So if we look at this, the black is if we're docking wind directly from the south. The red is if the wind is coming from the southwest. Even though both of them kind of look different, the approach is different, the underlying principles are the exact same. We're coming in, you're basically doing a U-turn. You're doing a big horseshoe because we have to make sure the boat is docked, bow facing open water. Southerly days like this are the #1 days that we see people come in and dock incorrectly, where they just try to come in and dock straight with their bow towards shore, and they let their sails out. They think, oh, I'm going to slow the boat down. I let my sails out. But because the wind is coming from the south, that just powers you up and you hit the boat. So when the wind is coming from the south like this, that's not a scary thing. We don't have to worry about it. We're just sailing the boat from point A to point B. We just have to make sure we dock with our bow facing open water. All right, so like we just talked about, right now the wind is coming out of the southeast. So first question is, are we docking bow towards shore or towards open water? If we look at the diagram, it's clear that we're going to be docking bow towards open water, and we're going to be coming in doing our U-turn, kind of our horseshoe. Right now we're sailing downwind, we're on a run. We're going into our jibe. Now we're going to start to slowly point towards the downwind corner of our parking spot.
As we get closer to the dock, we try to figure out when we want to ease our sails out to slow the boat down. Christian luffs the jib. I start to luff the mainsail as far as it'll go, and I turn hard alongside the dock. If we freeze this frame quick and you look at the tiller, you'll notice how far away from myself I'm having to push it. Using the tiller extension allows me to push the tiller further away, which turns the boat more sharply. If I was just using the tiller, I would physically have to lean my whole body across the boat in order to turn the boat.
Next one, wind is coming directly out of the east. Here we are, down in our sailboat. What point of sail do you think we're on if the wind is coming from the east? We're going to be on a beam reach. All right. Is our destination inside or outside of the no sail zone? It's outside the no sail zone, so we can aim directly at it. Next question, are we docking with our bow towards shore or towards open water? All right, technically, once again, we're dealing with wind directly at the east, so technically it doesn't matter. We could do it either direction. But like I've kind of been harping on, if the wind is coming from the east, it likely is bouncing back and forth between the east and the northeast just a little bit because it's probably trade winds. So if out of an abundance of caution, if it's doing that, we want to dock bow towards shore. So we know destination is outside the no sail zone, so I can aim directly at it, and I'm docking my bow towards shore. So I'm just going to come straight alongside the boats. Which is the downwind corner, 1 or 2? It's going to be 2. So I aim in, I let my sails out to slow the boat down, aim in, pull alongside the dock. This is the easiest way to dock because we're just basically sailing almost on a straight line, coming right inside the harbor, right alongside the boats, and then turning into the parking spot. The thing that we have to be worried about with this docking out of the east is you're on a beam reach, which is the fastest point of sail. So what happens a lot of times is people come in way too hot. So you want to just be careful. You want to counteract that by just start letting your sails out early. Letting your sails out to slow the boat down. If we slow down too much, we just sheet back in and speed the boat up. But we want to just start letting the sails out early so we slow the boat down so that we don't come into the dock too hot, too fast. The other thing, when we come in like this, when we're docking the other two directions, out of the south or out of the north, we kind of do a tight turn alongside the dock. When we come in on a beam reach, we're just kind of cruising in. There's not a whole lot of tiller movement, so the boat is going to glide a lot. It's going to glide a lot through the water. So we just want to make sure we ease that sail out plenty early.
Here we have our real world example. If we look at the diagram, the wind is coming directly out of the east, so we're going to dock our bow towards shore, and we're going to come in on a beam reach. So we need to remember that coming in on a beam reach is the fastest point of sail, so we're going to start letting our sails out early, both our mainsail and our jib. If I slow down too much, I can always sheet the sail back in. I start to turn towards the downwind corner of the dock, and then pull alongside.
The last direction that I'm going to talk about is westerly winds. Westerly winds are tricky, not because they're anything special, but because these docks aren't really made for us to depart or come back when the wind is out of the west. Because if the wind is anywhere out of the west, it's going to be pushing the boat against the dock the whole time, which makes it really hard to come in and dock the boat without the boat being powered up at all. The one kind of silver lining we have when the wind is out of the west is that it tends to be really, really light wind. And so a lot of times, even if you're not docking perfectly on a westerly day, the wind is so light that you're not really hurting the boat or the dock. So what we'll do now is talk about how to correctly dock on a westerly day. So let's say the wind is coming directly out of the west. I'm gonna erase this. The wind is coming directly out of the west. So here we are in our boat. We're on a beam reach. That's our parking spot. What we need to do is we're going to sail into the harbor on a beam reach, and then we're going to actually turn into the wind. We're going to turn into the wind, and what you want to do is as you turn into the wind, you're going to lower your mainsail. We're going to bear pull is what it's called. We're going to bear pull. So you sail in just like you normally would, but you turn into the no sail zone. Your sail is luffing. You lower your mainsail, because now we just have our jib, which isn't a very large sail, so it's not going to make the boat move very quickly. So once we bear pull, we turn back towards the dock, and we've basically taken so much power out of the boat that the boat is really easy to control. We don't really have to worry about hitting anything. So we turn right back towards our parking spot, and we pull alongside, just like that. Now, like I said before, the wind, when the wind is coming out of the west, it tends to be a super light wind. So this is the correct way to do it. The technical correct way, we need a bear pull. But a lot of times, because the wind is so light, you can also get away with, instead of coming in and bear pulling like this, if you remember when the wind was coming from the east, we basically just came in on a beam reach and pulled alongside the dock. You can do that same thing when the wind is coming directly out of the west. You can just come in right alongside the dock, we're on a beam reach. So we start letting our sail out pretty early to slow the boat down, and then we turn straight into our parking spot and pull alongside. Like I said, this is kind of the poor man's way to dock on a westerly wind day. This is the correct way, doing the bear pull. So if you come out to sail and the wind is coming out of the west, which is rare, it's coming out of the west and it's like 15 or 20 knots, you absolutely want to come in and do a bear pull maneuver. That's going to be the safest thing, the safest way to dock the boat. If you're sailing on a westerly day and it's like 5 to 6 knots, you can just come in poor man's way, beam reach right alongside the dock.